Your destination is on the left.
My man! Look at this. Look at the spread. Oh, my man, Husky.
Remember that gift that I told you that my fiance had for you?
Yes.
This is it.
I can't wait to have it.
No, the jar is going with you in the tea bags, and so you can make your own tea on the road.
There hasn't been any tea bags on this trip so far. Wait, has there, Scott?
He doesn't know.
I love it, man. Look at this spread.
Appreciate it, brother.
Look, we're about to chow down and then crash out. We got a busy day tomorrow. Catching up with my man here, and a lot more people.
Avocados.
Just wait. There's so much in store. Here's Corin.
Alrighty.
Come on in, join the party. There we go. Look at that. What's up, brother?
On the cameras again.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks so much for all your help and everything.
Oh no, man, it's been a ball.
Thanks, dude.
And I'll tell you that the first time I saw you was not Parker Lewis. The first time I saw you was Jonas Quinn. It was
Okay.
Stargate. And from a young age, the Daniel Jackson type character, the Jonas Quinn type character, the one that was willing to make that extra effort to get into somebody else's shoes and understand where they're coming from and work on learning the language and how to effectively communicate.
Yeah.
That was so inspiring to me that I have spent the last 10 years traveling as much as possible. I've been to Britain, I went to Canada, and just talking to the people. I got a buddy of mine in Hawaii. I can't wait to go. And I don't want to see Resort Maui.
No.
I want to see Hawaii. I want to see what it's like to be Hawaiian. I want to learn how to drive the Hawaiian boats and eat the Hawaiian fish and what it's like to
go on some boar hunts with the locals.
culture. Yeah.
Now, before we get too far, I want to make sure that we introduce ourselves.
Okay.
My name's Corin.
I'm Bill.
Great to meet you, Bill.
I generally go by Husky.
Yes.
Kind of an online moniker, but I answer to all kinds of things, including several derogatory terms. Yeah.
And he's got a home studio set up, which he's been allowing us to use while we're here and getting some adjustments. And he's come on board our production team as well to help us get things running smoothly, along with the other members at this point. And all of this has been volunteerism at this point, and it's been incredible. And we just, we hope that we get this thing going fast and strong and furious. But now let's get to know you some.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you born?
I was actually born in Redondo Beach, California.
Oh, right on. No kidding.
And I was there for about 4 minutes, I reckon. and then I think we moved to Oklahoma. But I was born at a very young age, and my memory really doesn't go back that far. My father was in the military.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
And so it was interesting because a lot of people said, I can't imagine that growing up in the military, and every 3 years you go to another continent.
Yeah.
Not just another state or another city, but you flew for a long time on a great big plane. And but it gave me the opportunity to reinvent myself every 3 years, to grow and become a better person, to learn different languages and different cultures. And I grew up like that. And so when I saw those characters, like I said, I was very inspired.
Yeah, my mom is a military brat as well. She grew up over in the UK. My grandfather was in the counterintelligence corps all throughout the Cold War. He was a B-50 pilot during World War II. Also flew the Berlin airlift.
Okay.
Has 3 Purple Hearts. Crashed a B-50 6 times, 6 burn-in landings, and survived them all.
He's not still flying.
No. He passed away at 95 years old, just a number of years back. But he lived a really powerful, incredible life. But let's not talk about him.
At the risk of making somebody angry, Harrison Ford. I see some similarities there. Hard worker, sometimes has trouble landing.
Yeah.
Good pilot, and
That's so true. Well, so and when you got to Oklahoma, was that your father's last station, or was his last station Redondo, and then he went back to Oklahoma? Was he from Oklahoma, or what?
No, he was actually born in Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
And he grew up in California, but my grandfather was military. Great grandfather, my dad, me. I was in before he was out.
Wow.
You know? So yeah, I'm trying to figure out civilian health insurance. Here I am, 47 years old, and I've never, ever had to deal with civilian health insurance.
Right.
But now, here I am, you got a fiance that's not a vet.
Right.
And now I gotta figure this out.
Oh, God, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Yeah, I don't even want to deal with that subject myself because my union, Screen Actors Guild, because I didn't make enough money one year, dropped me from my health insurance.
Surprise.
That's how helpful unions are. So I know how complicated that can get. But
we generally bounce back and forth between Oklahoma and Germany every 3 years.
That's how it was.
Was pretty much, yeah. He was artillery.
Well, what was the main base that he was stationed at in Oklahoma?
Fort Sill.
Okay, Fort Sill.
Out of Lawton, yeah.
And what age were you bouncing back between there and Germany?
From the time I was born, basically, certainly from the time that I can remember having coherent thoughts.
Yeah.
Long up until probably sophomore year, freshman year of high school.
So a long time.
Yeah.
Well, what comparatively speaking, because I always find that interesting. What did you see as the biggest difference between living in Germany at the time and then coming back to the U.S.? Was what was there a big difference in what it was like living in one country versus another?
The thing that I noticed was that America had a lot of concrete. There was
too much.
It was just concrete everywhere. And Germany was very, very green. If you ever go to Germany, ever, you want to go on a Volksmarch. They have them every weekend, all over.
Okay.
Within driving distance, there's one next to you, and they have 5K, 10K, and 20K nature walks with different spots. You can get beer and brats. I couldn't. I was very young, but Dad could. And I could have the brats. And then at the end,
they're usually cooked in beer anyway. So
yeah, you get this plate with a building or something about the town that was special to the town that you were in, and you could get pins. There was a bunch of different keepsakes.
Yeah.
And so you do a three-year tour, and you go on a bunch of these Volksmarches, and I've got a cane in there. I'll show you later, a walking stick that has got little stickers on it from all these different cities. My mom and dad took us to.
Oh, that's
do
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's like collecting stamps or something like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Except these were places that I'd been and walked around.
Yeah.
Which was just awesome.
I've always made the mistake of buying the obscure collectibles, like the strange little jar or the weird little statue, and then over time I've completely forgotten which place I got them at.
Yeah.
I'm like,
this has got the town name right on there.
But I should start doing that in the future if we're ever allowed to travel overseas again. Different subject.
We'll be allowed to travel overseas
I know.
again. It's going to happen. Just got to be patient.
Yeah, I know.
It's easier now that we're older.
It's true. Well, so when you would come back to the U.S. from having lived over in Germany, I know you were on military base, so it was probably pretty common for a lot of the other kids around there to live in other places, even if they moved around a lot within the continental U.S. or whatever. But when you got out of the, how soon did you go into the military after high school?
Almost immediately.
Okay, so you didn't have a large transition period there when you went into kind of normal life with
It was Lawton, Oklahoma. It was the military or Goodyear.
That's
and I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Right.
So that's the military. Yeah. And then 6 years later, the military said, "Nah, you're too busted up to be a Marine anymore." And
well, how'd you get busted up?
I fell off of, struck bys, just
all while on active duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got out of the Marines, and they either leave you, you have a choice, you can stay where you're at, or they will send you back to where you signed up. Oh, okay, well, I need to go back and move back in with my parents right quick while I figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Still didn't know. And I ended up becoming a fireman, and that was very rewarding.
God, it must have been. Before we get into that, I want to backtrack a little bit now too. Did both your parents remain together?
They're still together to this day.
Wow, it's amazing.
And in large part, the man I am today is due to them. They were not rich. They did not make a lot of money.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that as well.
But they managed to put me and my two brothers through private Christian school.
Wow.
Because mom got a job teaching at the school.
Yeah.
I mean, they worked their butts off, and I didn't realize it, of course, at the time.
Right.
But I will tell you that I am very surprised at how much smarter my parents got while I was away at boot camp. Because when I left, he was the dumbest man in the universe. When I got back,
right.
he was pretty close to the smartest guy, and a lot of what he had been saying made more sense.
Yeah, I bet.
So,
Yeah. We never. It's as a young person, I know that if I had taken the knowledgeable advice from my elders when it was given, instead of 15, 20 years later, when I had the aha moments of like, oh, that's what my mom meant by that.
Look at all those mistakes I could have not made if I'd have just listened.
So many.
Yeah.
So many.
Oh, yeah.
Well, having what did your mom do for a living then? What was her?
My mom was a nurse.
Okay.
And her mom was also a nurse, but she didn't become a nurse right off. She went to nursing school and worked. It was hard for her.
Yeah.
And she worked her way up at San Juan Regional Hospital. I'm very proud of this because she started as an LPN and worked as an LPN to save money for RN school. And then she worked as an RN for years, hard. And she retired
long hours. Yeah, long hours.
as the director of nursing for San Juan Regional Hospital.
Wow.
And this kind of thing is where I learned that failure is not an option. It's gonna happen, and that's how you learn, but you don't actually fail as we understand it unless you quit.
Yeah.
You
true.
just keep, you can throw resources at it, you can throw sweat at it, you can throw blood at it, as I'm sure you and Chad and Scott have all thrown blood, sweat, and tears at a problem. This at Love America tour.
Chad got chiggers for it. He went back first on a bed of chiggers.
But that's what it takes. That's what it takes, is you have to have that conversation with yourself. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to see this through till the end, or until I absolutely can't anymore.
Yeah.
In which case, I'm going to figure out what went wrong with this attempt and make it better next time.
On the next attempt, exactly. Was there a time growing up with your mom and dad in the military thing, with all the traveling stuff? Was there ever a time when it got tiring, when it got old, when you just wished for something normal?
That was normal for me.
Right.
And it's interesting because, I have conversations I had a phone call with my dad last week where he said, you have to realize that people are scared of this virus. And I said, Dad, how can I understand that? I'm not afraid of the virus. I haven't been since it came out. I understand how viruses work. Well, people that are in burning buildings, he says, don't usually stop to consider their options. Dad, I was a fireman for 15 years. None of these metaphors are working. Okay? And, Kirsten had an issue with anxiety for a very long time. I don't know what that's like. I know it exists. I'm glad to see Lacey doing what she's doing.
Yes.
Because that's something Lacey can do that I'm just not able to.
And the name of her group?
The Cliffside Project.
The Cliffside Project.
See, I pay attention.
It's going to be great too. Was your father? What rank did he achieve in the military?
E7, Sergeant First Class.
Okay. And
he was Army, and I was the black sheep of the family for going into the Marines until my brother became an officer in the Army.
Ah, gotcha.
And he actually is now the historian for the National Guard.
Really? That's a cool role.
Entire National Guard. Yeah, he's a lieutenant colonel.
Cool role. Far out. That's really cool. Was regard your father? Was he Was he as strict in the home as he was with with those he was in charge of on
My father
operation?
led by example, and
Okay.
my father worked very, very hard to keep work and home separate because he knew we weren't soldiers. He would, instead of lecturing, he would think about the thing, and he would, and later on, I had this same question when I was raising, my kids. I was like, "How did you do that?"
Yeah.
He says, "If you preach at them, they're just going to shut you off. But if you think of just this one little nugget of wisdom, even if they're acting like they're ignoring you, they hear you, and that sticks." And he would do that. He worked. He lived, and let me watch him and learn how to be a man. He showed me how by doing it himself. And
that's beautiful.
and that gave me such a leg up, such an advantage.
I can see it because I didn't, having grown up without that experience at all, or with a minuscule kind of hint of something like that, that's negligible. I know the struggles that I went through trying to define myself as a man, and those people that I looked to as mentors were the rebellious tough guy types. And I gravitated towards those kind of people in junior high school, or in elementary school even. In elementary school, my best friend, Wesley Bruner, was the toughest guy in school, and me and him and a couple other guys, Jason Welch and a few other guys, we had our little, guys hanging out, but he was the guy I was like, no one will mess with him. I want to be like that guy. And so I would try to emulate that in different ways, and I just, it never really worked out successfully for me, and it wasn't until I found some proper mentors in life that I had some final wake ups. So would you have looked at your father as a mentor? Did you also have somebody outside of the family?
I had several.
Okay.
I still have several. I try to surround myself with friends that are as smart or smarter, as tough or tougher. They're as good or better.
Yeah.
Because that makes me want to be better.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get just stuck in, okay, this is good enough. This has become a good enough world.
Oh,
Not
it's
for
so
me.
true.
If my name is going on it, it's going to be the absolute best I can be. That live stream we did,
Yeah.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, and you did.
Wait till
You knocked
you
it
see
out in
the
10
next
minutes.
one.
It was great. Yeah.
Wait till
I
you
love
see
that.
the next
I love
one.
it. Thank you for
That's
that,
going to
too.
be
That's
better.
awesome. Yeah.
And the one after that, just wait. I will find new things to make things better.
I love it.
Because that's how you grow. That's how things get developed. And I got some news for you. People that are watching the news
Yeah.
and are freaked out, you're reading the wrong news. I am so often excited and then depressed a little bit when I see we are on the crux. As humanity, right now, we are at a fork in the road. And we can either take another trip around the mountain, or we can launch forward as a society, not just America, globally.
Sure.
As a society by 150 years. Because here's what you're not hearing about. Just, what is today, the 7th, 14th?
I have no
At
idea
the turn of the
anymore.
month, the
Yeah,
30th and the 1st of July.
Yeah.
There was a company out there who is working on, they are printing
Oh yeah,
vegan
yeah,
steaks.
Yes. I'm
And they're going to
familiar
be
with that, yeah.
they're going to be testing
Yeah,
these.
Yeah.
They're 3D printing this
Yeah,
stuff,
I know.
Corin.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Food.
I know. I don't
And
want
it's
to
supposed
get
to
too in the
taste-
weeds on that.
Well, no,
but-
it's just it's supposed to taste just as good. It's so much cheaper to make, and it can solve the food.
so
shortage
long
problem.
as it's not Soylent Green, we're all good.
They're making all of
But-
this stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'd love to get into that on a different subject matter but what I want to stay focused on is the life story.
Okay.
And how you overcame challenges and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But that subject matter is infinitely fascinating to me. But
I'm
I want to
excited
I
because
want
I
to pull
can
us back
see-
into.
I could see.
Yeah.
And it's because of my upbringing. It was so, I don't want to say abnormal or weird, but it was different than a lot of the experiences, like the difference that you had. And because of the way that I grew up, apparently people tell me that I've got an odd way of looking at things.
Right.
And not
Yeah, me
weird
too.
so much, but like maybe out of the box or a different
Sure.
point of view than they're interested in hearing. And I see it, and it excites me
Yeah.
because we're so close. We're so close. And I mean,
Yeah, if we can bridge the gap,
all we got to do is stop fighting with each other over crap that don't matter.
And that's what this show is all about.
That's
is,
it.
Is helping us get to know each other. So when you found yourself, because you had such a stable, even though you were moving back and forth and everything, but you had a stable home life, you had stable datums with your mother and your father, them doing their roles, playing their roles in the family unit successfully, and even being able to hide the hard times they were going through financially and the struggles, even to be able to hide that from you guys to a greater degree.
Oh,
So
man.
what
Let
I'm
me tell you
getting
the
at is
story.
that okay.
Just real quick about
Yeah,
that.
please, of course. I'd
About
love
that.
to hear it.
Really rough year for my parents financially, right? And I could tell. I had become old enough, and as parents, we don't realize, generally along 11 or 12, they're paying a lot more attention than you give them credit for, and they notice a lot more than you give them credit for. And I noticed that my dad was broken up about Christmas because he had just gotten off the trail as a drill sergeant, and I hadn't seen him hardly at all in a year.
Yeah.
And I was so happy for him to be home. And this is something we didn't both talk about until years later.
Right.
But he was so, just sad that he couldn't do what he wanted for us.
Yeah.
But he borrowed a spirograph that I have. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, I remember, of course. Yeah, totally.
And he did spirographs on these things. He went to Walmart and got boxes and made us spaceships with the tin cans and the strings, so that we
Sure.
could talk to each other. And we had spaceships. And actually, I can't remember what they're called in Battlestar Galactica, the little fighter things. They had a name for,
I
for
can't.
them
I
little
can't.
fighter
Yeah,
things.
I know what you're talking about. I can't
But
remember.
that's
the
what
name
we
of
were
it, yeah.
doing. We were
Yeah.
out there doing them little fighter things,
That's
right?
awesome.
But we didn't even have enough money to get a Christmas tree. We had always had enough money to get a Christmas tree. So my dad, who had been gone for a year, and I went out into the garage, and he took the time to spend with me, and we made one out of a hula hoop and baling wire. And he didn't know till later, for me, that was the best Christmas ever.
Wow.
That was my first experience with my dad of
Yeah.
learning how to improvise, adapt, overcome. Sometimes you're going to get dealt a bad hand, and it's how you play it. And it was a very important lesson for me that I didn't even know I was learning at the time.
I bet.
I was just happy to be spending time with my
your
dad.
dad. Exactly. And that's a really, really beautiful moment, man. I'm so glad that you shared that with me too. So with that kind of, what I was curious about is because you had said that after high school you're like, what do I do? I can go work in the factory, or I can go to the military. But I am curious, like, with...
Well, come on now. You can make tires. You can blow stuff up. What kind of a
That's
choice
true.
is that?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. That's true. 4th of July is a lot more fun than Easter.
That's what I thought. I learned there was more to it than that later. But at the time, that's what I was thinking. And of course, I was the geek in high school. I was the kid who got their lunch money stolen. Okay, I mean, I'm 5'6". You tower over me. Chad towers over me. And at the time, I got teased a lot and bullied a lot.
Yeah.
And that actually helped me make it through boot camp. Because what I was told is, oh, you're never going to make it in the Marines. Are you kidding me? You're going to come home crying back to mama. And every time I thought in boot camp about coming home crying back, no, I am not giving those the satisfaction.
Yeah.
I will come back in dress blues. And that's what I did. I came back in dress blues, and I toured my old high school in front of these guys.
Yeah.
Loud and proud.
I love it. I love that. That's a beautiful moment too.
That's another lesson that I learned from my parents, is there's always a way to turn a negative into a positive. There's also a way to hide behind that negative and just let it kill you. But you can always turn it around. There's a way.
Yeah.
And maybe you may not know it, but somebody does.
Exactly. And that's where community comes in, and being able to have close relationships with people that you trust and you can rely on, and all that happens, that can only come about through getting to know each other and through communication, and the better that we can come to know each other, the more we can see we have in common. The more we see that we have in common, the more that we grow closer together. The closer together we grow, suddenly we can start relying on each other. You know, and that's a beautiful thing. What happened in the military career? Because obviously you felt. Why did you feel you only had two choices after high school?
Well, because Lawton was in large part a military town.
Okay.
Fort Sill, at least when I was growing up, it may be different now, but when I was growing up, Fort Sill was most of the reason Lawton existed. But they also had this great big Goodyear plant out there. And I'm not saying that the people who work at Goodyear, they make a good living, and they make great tires, and I buy their stuff. You know, I mean, I need that. We need that stuff.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to make it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
And what I was wondering is what was it at that time period? What was it that didn't allow you to see past that town at possibilities outside of that, or the Army, or what? I could go anywhere. I could go to New York. I could go to Chicago. I could go to Miami. I could just get out and go and find something.
Oddly,
what was
I actually
it
try to avoid large cities. I prefer little ones.
Yeah.
But that's a matter of preference. And yeah, I knew that I could be anything. I know that. And it's not one of those, oh, you can be anything you want when you grow up. You just have to try hard enough. Let me tell you what that means, because I found that out.
Yeah.
That means you have to put in more effort than anybody else on the planet.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's what that means. That's what that takes. Yes, you can, but let's face it. Is it worth it enough to you to put that kind of effort in?
Yeah.
And honestly, if it's not, you're probably you're probably barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, and here's another thing I wanted to jump onto, because I think it's important. When I grew up in Atlanta, like I said, Wesley, my friend Louis Guzman, my friend Jason Welch, and his two brothers, Scott and Eric, and you know, we were the joined the military after high school crew, and all but one of them went into the military after high school, and I would have joined them if I hadn't moved from Atlanta to Los Angeles. But it served to make all of their lives better.
I can tell you what the defining moment was that made me choose the military. And it's interesting. We all had childhood friends, right? Well, one of my childhood friends got hit by a car. Not tragic. Don't pull out the Kleenex. He was fine.
Yeah.
But that struck me as, you know, if he hadn't been fine, I wouldn't know what to do. So I started taking first aid classes. That's kind of how I ended up getting into the fire and medic thing later.
Okay.
But it was a movie. It was a movie called Red Dawn.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Red Dawn.
And
classic.
it wasn't,
not the remake.
It wasn't.
The original.
Yeah, definitely the original.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I wanted to be a badass. It was that I looked at that, and if you pay attention to the opening of that, it says this was an actual scenario considered by NATO as a possibility.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
they
I went, you
wargamed
know what? I have no training whatsoever. How would I deal with that?
Right.
I need to go. That's possible. I need to go get training.
Yeah.
How am I going to keep my future family safe?
Right.
I'm going to go learn how. That's how. And that was the moment that
I did my military training during Operation Dumbo Drop, so it's not quite as extensive as this gentleman's, I can assure you.
Well, we all have things that we do, man. I mean, I have done some stage acting.
Yeah.
And you know, if when the circuit gets off the ground, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to just try it in front of a camera.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a movie star. But
Well, you're trying it right now.
I want to be able to walk in your shoes a little bit to understand.
What size? I'm a 9.5.
I got little bitty feet. Buddy.
I'm a 9.5.
I'm a 8.5. Think 9, 8.5.
Ah, you could say you could try mine.
But you know, I want to know. I want to learn. I want to experience new things, and I want to do well at it. Or
what I love too. I don't want to stray away too far from the through line I was following, but what I love about you is that you haven't lost the youthful vigor towards life, and you're not afraid to learn what you don't know in present time, and to move forward with new ideas. Whereas people in our age group, when you get into your late 40s and whatnot, most people start hanging up the hat on new ideas.
Buddy, it's 2020. You
Yeah.
can't say I don't know. Are you kidding me? Somehow that's I lose the game. It's not really.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, and so you ask somebody a question, he says, you know what? I don't know. I could guess, but I
Yeah.
don't have that fact. In real life, that, for me, that makes me respect that person more. He's not just trying to show me that he's smart and hasn't lost the game or whatever. He's secure enough to tell me
Yeah.
he doesn't actually know that,
Right.
which makes me trust him more when he does say things.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I want to know.
Well, what is it? What is it about you? What do you think it is about your character that has allowed you to remain, so present with the possibilities that can happen from this point forward, even at our ages, being able to completely reinvent ourselves, come up with a whole new way of doing things, or a new idea for a new business or whatever else, and against all odds and against the so-called age, thing, go for it anyway. What is it about your character?
I've got rheumatoid arthritis. I only have the functional use of one lung. I am beat up. And I will still run circles around kids half my age because of the way that I was brought up and learned. That's what it takes. And that's what it takes to win.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Winning's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Winning's fun.
Yeah.
And in order to win, sometimes you have to lose, so you know what part of your play you got to work on.
So you know what winning feels like.
But yes, and it is
Not
sweet.
everybody deserves a trophy. That's what makes you want to get a trophy next time.
That's what makes the trophy matter.
Exactly.
That's what makes the trophy matter. And I don't always win. Nobody always wins. But you learn as long as you learn something every time you lose, it's not a loss. It's also a win. And maybe not a win that gets you that trophy, but it's a win that gets you one step closer.
Yep.
And that's the way that you look at it. That's the way you have to look at it. Or CNN and all of this crap is going to have you so depressed that you can't get out of your front door.
Yeah, man. I've actually, the one thing that I've probably enjoyed most about this trip is having zero time to catch up with current events. I mean, I've had almost...
Feel better, don't you?
I mean, it's like yeah, I feel amazing.
If you shut off
I feel
Twitter
amazing.
and shut off CNN and get out, go out, talk to people, the sun's shining, the birds were chirping a little bit ago.
They're quiet for us. I put a notice out. Chad went and flapped his wings over there and sent them a signal to shut up while we talk.
Look around. Things are good.
When you get out and see them.
Things are good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that I don't know. It's just you have two choices. You can keep fighting, or you can quit and give up. You can lay down and die.
Yeah.
I don't have it in me to lay down and die.
No.
I have people around me all the time. You need to slow down. You're going to break yourself again. I have a personal trainer.
Yeah.
That said, you know what? Normally I have to just kick guys in the butt and constantly motivate, and it's exhausting. And you need a governor. I have to slow you down. And it's because to win, to feel that win, you've got to be willing to put some pain in, to put some work in. That's what it takes. And then it stops being so bad because you know what you're doing.
Well, here this
is going to pay off.
Yes, and this is what's interesting about you saying that right now is that it seems like there's an odd narrative out there that's being delivered on, especially to younger kids, that winning isn't the goal. That participating is the goal, and I'm curious, from growing up in a military family, from being in the military after that, and then going in, and I mean, if you're a firefighter and only participating and putting out the fire is the goal, and not actually putting the fire out,
you have to put the fire out.
That's
you have
the
to
win.
Make sure that life safety is there, and you got to be ready to save the guy next to you.
And that's the win. And that's why firemen get medals of honor for bravery on duty. They get plaques. They get, some of them get streets named after them. Whatever happens, it happens. But it's, without going in with that zest to win the fight, the participation really is it means nothing. It's meaningless.
Yeah.
If there's no win at the end, or if there's no loss at the end.
And I'm just,
in my opinion,
I wish I could get this story out to more people.
Yeah.
But I was talking to you earlier about the Royal Rangers. It's the Assemblies of God version, basically, of the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
And we were talking about these young men that some of them had situations similar to yours. Dad's not in the picture for whatever reason. And, there's a portion of your life. Guys, if you're young, you get out of high school, there's a portion of your life you're going to struggle. It's like gravity. It gets better.
Right.
Keep fighting. It gets better. And these guys, these young men, they didn't know that. And we would train them, even from little. I was telling you, it's like, this is how you build a fire, this is how you keep it under control, this is how you put it out.
Yeah.
This is how you build snares. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. And finally, along about 12...
Did you teach them how to noodle? Did you teach them how to noodle for catfish?
Nope. Not one of the badges for that. But 12 to 14, they've got enough skills to survive in the woods on their own for a weekend, 10, 12 pounds of gear. And just so you know, that includes food, that includes water. A gallon of water will last you maybe a day out there in the heat.
Yeah.
And that's 8 pounds. So what you need to bring is a life straw. And they knew this kind of thing.
Right.
We would go out there. They didn't have contact with us much. The idea was, if you can tap out. We were there in case they tapped out. We were there to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
But survival was on you. And these boys came back different. Every boy, every time. They passed that. It was like you were talking about, the rite of passage.
Yeah.
They came back with some confidence that they didn't have before. And their parents noticed it. You could see it.
Yeah.
It was like a different kid coming back. And these kids that showed up being violent and I'm going to take your head off and you can't tell me what to do, were now standing with their shoulders square and their heads held high, and they were respectful of their elders, and they knew what it took to win, and they had that confidence.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome to watch that transformation happen in a weekend.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
weekend.
And those kind of programs, I think, should be should really be fostered and supported and all of that. It's, I'm 100% behind you on that. I think that's beautiful. Would you recommend military service to a kid who's lost and not sure which direction he should go in?
It kind of depends on the kid.
Or, okay, if that's the case, then let's say if it all depends on the kid. But what branches? Because there's different branches of military service too.
Absolutely.
So if you have somebody who might be a little more sheepish, a little more wavy, it's not necessarily as physically in going for it, but there's a branch of the military for him too.
Everything is about
right?
perception. How do you feel about motorcycles?
I can take them or leave them.
My perception, after 15 years in the fire service, is that motorcycles are crazy dangerous.
Yeah.
Because almost half the time, better than half the time, I saw a motorcycle, it was a wreck.
Right.
And I was there working.
Yeah.
Okay? That's not an accurate perception. And the back of my mind knows that. But I still won't get on a motorcycle.
Sure.
So it's perception. And so immediately when you said military, no, the Marines ain't for everybody. But
right.
You are right. Name me a job that's not in the military. You can be a pilot, and they'll train you. They'll train you to be a doctor. They'll train you to be a nuclear power tech. I mean, there's submarines. There's swimming instructors.
You end up learning welding.
Cooks.
People learn welding.
All
that stuff.
There is not a job.
Big rig drivers.
Sure.
All that stuff.
Absolutely.
So when you come out, you can have a career.
You have to realize though that you are signing up. You're making a deal. You're making two deals actually. One, if you help me get this skill and this piece of paper that says I have a skill so I can get a good paying job later, I will work for you for this many years.
Yeah.
And you also have to realize that during those years, your body, your mind, it's not your own.
Right.
You have made, you swear an oath, and that scared me so bad. Because when I had my hand raised and I said that I would uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I was repeating after this guy. And my first thought was, I don't even know what the Constitution says. I need to read that.
That's so genius.
And I mean, I have to. I am taking an oath.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I better do everything that I can to fulfill that oath. I'm putting my honor, my word on the line. And holy crap, I need to read the Constitution yesterday.
Yeah.
And enemies, foreign and domestic, I didn't know what that meant for years
Right.
after I made that oath. But that's an oath that I still hold true today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
And I will, I vote, I lean right. I'm a conservative.
Right.
But I argue both sides of the fence all the time.
Sure.
Because the Constitution is very clear on most things. And all you have to do is read it.
And it's very, I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but I agree. I mean,
it's the rule book. If you don't know the rules, you can't cry foul.
And in reality, if you really look at it as a blueprint, there's so much freedom in it for every single man, woman, and child in this country.
It makes everything that you're hearing that's complicated, it makes it simple.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stray into the weeds on that.
But that was why I got into the Constitution. I had my hand up.
Yeah.
And you're going to defend this. Well, okay, I was in school. I know that it's a founding document, and we had founding fathers and founding documents, so it's an important piece of paper. And
it secures. What I see is that it secures the freedom of everybody on either side,
and then
in order to be able to reveal what it is that you think, believe, what you want to express,
and you make that oath, and then all of a sudden you realize what a responsibility
I can imagine
I've taken on.
I can imagine.
The United States has
Are we doing on recording? It's good.
The United States hasn't seen a war on its own soil in hundreds of years.
I guess about
hundreds of years. You know who's responsible for that? Our military.
Right.
All of them, going back hundreds of years. We're talking millions of people, probably.
I guess the last war would have been the Mexican-American War. Would have been the one that actually was fighting on American.
I think so. There might have been a French-Indian War that happened also.
That happened too.
It's been a long
ass time.
Long time ago, and it's Civil War happened in 1800s.
Well, that was, but then there was the Rough Riders and all that. They were still fighting. They were still fighting down against on the borders and stuff like that in the southwestern part. But without getting into the history thing, because we're getting in the weeds here. We're getting in the weeds.
I looked at that and I was like, okay, because my dad was in the military, my grandpa was in the military, and you can trace that all the way back.
Yeah.
And I was like, how many people came before me? The legacy.
Yeah.
My God, the shoes I have to fill.
Right. Absolutely.
And that motivated me. I have to be the absolute best I can be.
I love that. What would you be able to recommend to a young man or young woman who is coming out of high school, and this has nothing to do with the military, this is just from your heart? What could you recommend them if they're struggling with their future and they don't know what to do, and they're on that fine line of 1 foot in the white and 1 foot in the black, and life could go either direction?
This is what you do.
Yeah.
Try everything.
Yeah.
Find a VOTEC near you that's got a summer program. I know this because in Lawton they have the Great Plains Area VOTEC.
A VOTEC is a vocational school.
It's a trade school.
It's a trade school.
And what they did was they had this summer, and it was a month, and you spent a week. You picked 4 classes. And I got to try welding and drafting and just try stuff, man. Go to work with somebody that you know. Try stuff. Something is going to bite you.
Gotcha.
Something is going to make you so excited. You'll know it when it happens because you can't mistake it. It will cause something to well up inside you that good enough isn't good enough anymore.
Right.
I want to be the best at this. This excites me. And it could be anything. So try everything. You're going to like some of it. You're going to not like some of it. And some of it is going to make your life worth being the absolute best at that you can.
Right.
Find that thing
Yeah.
and grab onto it, and then go chase it.
So essentially, it's you want to start with a bird shot first,
Yeah.
spread it all out, and then find what your
Yeah.
real target is, and maybe go to a deer shot, and then finally hit a slug in it.
Yeah.
When you really find your mark.
Try everything. You know, you will find something that just you can't control. You want to tell everybody about it. You end up being like a vegan CrossFitter about
Right.
this thing, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you can't not be excited when you're thinking about it. And that excitement is contagious. The
Exactly.
people around you will catch it.
Exactly.
And what we have is we're being so beat down. Screw that. Get away from that. Go find something that excites you and makes you feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
And go do that. Go do that.
Go
Live
do
streaming
that.
for me right now
Yeah.
is that thing. I am so excited to be able
Yeah,
to get
man.
some of this stuff out there.
Yeah.
And tell people it's not anywhere near as bad as it's being made out to be.
I know.
Go out your door without anxiety, without fear,
Yeah.
and go live life. Go
Yeah.
find the part of life that excites you the most. Surfing terrifies me. You want to go?
I would definitely go.
I have never been.
Yeah, I used to
have
surf when
no
I was
idea
younger.
how.
And I had a shark
teach me?
scare. I had a shark scare one time, and I haven't been back in the water since. But I'd still do it.
If you teach me,
I got
do
a
it.
buddy who could teach you better than I do. But if we end up in California together, we'll definitely hit.
That's a new thing, man. You never know. Maybe that's going to be the next thing that bites me.
maybe.
And maybe I'll fall off and don't want to have anything to do with it again. We'll
Yeah.
go have some surf and turf and try something else tomorrow.
Dude, I love it.
That's
I
the
love
way.
It, man.
That's the way you get through life without being beat down. And the more practice that you have at that, start with little stuff. Get little successes, and then build on those and make little bigger ones and little bigger ones. And before you know it, you've got a line of successes of things that you've accomplished behind you. You're building your confidence using that, and you cannot be stopped. You can't be stopped.
Yeah.
If you have something that you're excited about, a vocation, an industry, a career, or a hobby that you're excited about, you can't be stopped. Nobody can stop you.
That's right.
I mean, nobody has to watch my live streams, but nobody can stop me from
Doing
putting them out there.
Exactly.
And I'm going to do that to the best of my ability, whether I have one viewer or a million viewers.
I love that. So, you know, I want to end it on that note because, you know, that message at the end that was so powerful. I think that's what people need to go home and chew on is having a fearless approach to self-discovery and an openness to trying something that might seem way too daunting or way out of your league. The only way to find out is to dive in and try it.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Don't be afraid to fail.
So, you know what? If you try something and you didn't like it and you succeeded, you probably shouldn't do it again.
There you go.
If you try something and you didn't like it and you failed, you probably shouldn't do it again. If you tried something and it bit you and you failed, do it again.
You
Do it
hear that? Keep doing it.
Do it again.
Don't ever stop. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll see you on the road. Love
Absolutely.
America Tour. Thanks.